guys, welcome into the trenches. I'm Sam Mays. College football is back, and so am I. It has been a crazy year for me and my family. We have gotten into a new industry, doing a little oil and gas with a company called Epcon. Shout out to them. It just was time for me to step away from radio for a little bit and try something different. I was there with John Hoover in Tulsa. Loved working with him. It was so much fun. I've had a great time over the last couple of years in the radio business, but it was definitely time for me and my family to take a step away from the media. Um, it was so weird watching sports without a real intent, like being just a normal fan for the first time, really in my adult life. You got to think I went from the football field basically straight to the broadcast booth, and so it's just I've never really just watched the game just to watch the game, and frankly, I didn't turn on as many as maybe I thought I would have. Right, I got used to watching television shows with my fiance and doing stuff with the kids, and surfing my phone and not paying attention to every little aspect of sports that was floating around, and honestly, it was kind of a nice little break. I'll say that, and then July hit, and all of a sudden, it was like, oh, do you smell that? The college football season is in the air. So when this opportunity to work with Sellout to what came across the table, it was pretty much a no-brainer for Brittany and I to accept the opportunity. And I'm pretty excited about the team. I'm excited about the people that I'm working with. For those who know me from the podcast world, I did my own thing there for a while, and I will tell you, it's exhausting, when you're trying to do it by yourself. And my fiance is just brilliant, and she did so much work on the back end. And, we did a successful podcast there for a while, but it just got to be overwhelming when an upload to YouTube takes 8 hours, and about 7 hours and 35 minutes in, it just shuts down. It's like, I started not liking to do the podcast. So now I've got this incredible team with me, walking right beside me. Jacqueline, who you guys will meet here later in the podcast, is behind the screen, and we're going to have a ton of fun. Typically in the trenches, I'll have a guest. If you guys know me, I love working with people, love talking to people, so it'll never really be just a solo act. That's just really not my jam, and not who I am. And you also know, if you've listened to me on the radio or watched me on a podcast, that I'm really kind of just a no BS, just tell you how it is type of dude. I named the show In the Trenches because that's where the action is. That's when the work is done. That's where the big boys play. And that's what this show is going to be about. There's going to be opinions that you don't like. There's going to be takes that you don't like. And frankly, I don't care. That's just the bottom line. I am who I am. And for those who are tuning in, you're here to hang out with me and talk sports with me and interact with me. And I appreciate it. But I'm not ever really going to have an opinion because I think the public wants me to feel one way, or I think OU fans are going to be upset if I say this, or if the Cowboy fans, Oklahoma State Cowboy fans. I'm a diehard Oklahoma State guy. I played there, love Stillwater. My best years of my life are there. But a lot of OSU fans are a little iffy with me because I just tell it like it is. If they're good, I'll say they're good. If they're bad, I'm going to tell you that they're bad. So I'm not looking to make best friends with this thing. If you want to hear my opinion, you want to talk about some hardcore sports and get after a little bit, that's what this show is going to be about. And, at times we'll step away from the sports realm if there's something happening in pop culture, or, something funny that's going on. Like, I'll kind of get into just life in itself. I've got 5 kiddos, and we have a crazy life, and we love to cook and all kinds of things. So you'll hear variation of topics on this show. So I am definitely excited to do it. Definitely excited to be back in the biz. I don't necessarily know that you guys will see me on campus very much. Maybe for some big games, I'll probably go down to OU Texas, and depending on what's going on late in the season, I'll try to make it to Stillwater at least once this year. But honestly, I get to see way more on the television. I watch football games from the offensive line out, and I know more about a football team after 4 quarters in front of my television most of the time than I do from the stadium. But if you do see me out and about, feel free to come on up, say hi. I love when you guys interact with me. It's so much fun. It's the best part of being in the media here in Oklahoma. It's just the fans. You guys are fantastic. So I'm looking forward to interacting with you guys and seeing you in public again. And when you do, make sure you say hi. And man, I'll tell you what else, the Sellout Crowd team in general, Todd Lisenby back in action with him. I'm pretty pumped to work with Todd again. He is dynamic, exciting, creative. I can't wait to see him on a platform that just allows him to be who he is. And we're going to do quite a bit together. So looking forward to working with Todd. And then obviously Barry Trammell, Jenny Carlson, you're talking about Oklahoma sports legends. Trammell's been around for 175 years. He walks into the room, and frankly, I'm shocked that he moves around as well as he does. I'm kidding. Barry's fantastic. I've learned from Barry over the years. Barry covered me working with Barry on the radio, so I'm thrilled to be with him here on Sellouts. And then my memories of Jenny Carlson start on the football field in Stillwater. She was like the one girl in the media group that stuck out. She asked great questions, and she interviewed me several times. I love working with her. When I was in Stillwater as a kid, she made me super comfortable with the media. And honestly, when I look back to that, between Steve Buzzard, who was in charge of I don't know what Steve's actual title was, but he was fantastic. Steve really helped me get into the media. Steve trained me as an 18, 19, 20-year-old to prepare myself for what was going to happen next in my career. But between Steve and Jenny, those are memories that I will always have, of people, my first few interviews at Oklahoma State. And had the pleasure of working with so many greats, even as a kid, John Hoover and some of these others that will always stick out and be a big part of who I am today in the media and the conversations I like to have now when I'm on air. I'm pumped. I'm pretty excited. It's going to be a great team. Some people I haven't worked with before. The content is just going to keep coming. It's going to hit you left and right. It's going to be dynamic. It's going to be fast. It's going to be creative. We're hoping to get some gear out pretty quick. I'm hoping that we find a way to get ourselves a home on Saturdays where we can spend, 10, 12 hours and interact with you guys and hang out with you guys at a location, which will be cool. So yeah, man, I'm excited. College football is back. All right, we're going to dive into real quick. You guys know me. I'm not much of a, hey, let's take a deep dive in what could happen on Saturday type of guy. That's just not my vibe. I'd much rather react and let you know my thoughts here at the end of the game. But real quick, just some thoughts as we get started this season for the Sooners, the Cowboys, the Big 12. We'll talk a little bit about some national games. As far as Oklahoma is concerned, I've got a close friend that was in camp, around camp, and letting me know that Oklahoma looks to be the part, right? I'm excited to see what this new offensive line looks like. The Stanford transfer is going to be a huge impact player. Some people talked about potentially a first-round draft pick, the transfer in from Stanford, which is going to be awesome. I think Bill Bedenbaugh is one of the best offensive line coaches in the country. If that group levels up and Dillon Gabriel stays protected, right, and has improved like I'm hearing Jackson Arnold came in and really pushed him. If he does those things, I think the Oklahoma offense will be just fine, right? The question is defense. Where was it, right? Last year, they were, I think, averaging 30 points and almost 470 yards of offense against them. That is a losing recipe. It's why they weren't good last year. Venables, under a ton of pressure this year, got to find a way to get that defense going again. Hearing that he has taken a larger role in the defense, I don't know how I feel about that. A head coach is a head coach, and they're supposed to be there for every decision in every moment and managing the game from the sidelines, right? That's the head coach's job on Saturdays. What I'm getting from Venables is he's going to be down on the defensive end doing defensive things. And we saw this before in Oklahoma, right? Mike Gundy, that famous photograph of him sitting on that bench or that tool chest, whatever he was sitting on, addressing the offense as the rest of the team was playing ball. This is, Mike had some success doing that, but it's probably not where you want your head coach. I think Venables was a little too far on the defensive end a year ago, and now we're talking about taking a deeper step into that side of things. So it'll be interesting to see what he looks like on the sidelines and how that defense prepares. I'm hearing great things about the defensive ends. Ethan Downs was on the preseason All Big 12 team, and I'm hearing he might not be, in that top two best players on the edges for that Oklahoma defense. I mean, all the defensive tackles are up around 300 pounds. Everybody's getting a little bit bigger. Somebody's getting a job done every summer. Everybody's in awesome shape. If I had any questions about the defense, it would be in the middle of the field. Danny Stutzman comes back. He's definitely one of the best leaders on that team. You love his attitude, love his energy. But the guys around him, you question, what they're going to be able to get done in a Venables defense that has proven to be a little more difficult than maybe some anticipated. A year ago, I think a lot of their issues were they just didn't know what they were doing. So excited to see what Coach V and that group has got going. Excited to see them take the field this weekend. Obviously, a big opening matchup. Everybody's excited about Arkansas State. Not really. I think what we want to see here is you want to see them hit their quarterback, and you want to see Oklahoma protect theirs. Bottom line, that's what you want to see in games like this. You want to see the physical dominance on the line of scrimmage. You should be able to do whatever you want offensively, and you should just be murdering the opposing quarterback every single snap you can when you're Oklahoma playing against a team like Arkansas State. Looking north to Stillwater, the Cowboys, who knows, right? Mike Gundy once again has got a quarterback battle, question mark. Garrett Rangel and the Bowman kid, the transfer from Michigan, the former Texas Tech quarterback. We all love the transfer portal. Who knows what you're going to get out of that group. I'm hearing good things about the offensive line. I think that hiring Coach Dickey was the best thing they've done in a decade in Stillwater, but it really hasn't paid out for them quite yet. I'm hearing this group comes back with more experience. They're feeling better about themselves. They're healthy for the first time in a while. Remember, last year was a complete disaster. They had guys in and out with injury in the beginning of the season. I don't think they ever really gelled. This year, I'm hearing that this potentially could be the strength of the team. If that is the case, Mike Gundy is dangerous, period. But Mike Gundy has got a quarterback that can execute and manage an offense and an offensive line that's going to allow him to be versatile and have a 1,000-yard back. Well, then you're looking at a group offensively that's going to be a force to be reckoned with in Stillwater. Defensively, who knows, right? You bring in Brian Nardo. He's in year number 1. They got some returning starters that are pretty decent. I don't think anything a whole lot to write home about as far as the Oklahoma State defense as a whole. You know, they weren't very good a year ago. That's why there was a change. So I'm coming up in the air as far as the Cowboy defense is concerned. This very much feels like one of those years where Oklahoma State could win 10 games or they could win 5 games. I'll tell you this much. We'll know after the first 2 or 3 what they're capable of. And I think a lot starts with that line of scrimmage. And obviously, if Gundy truly has a quarterback battle, can he pick the right one? You know, it's just dumbfounding to me that this is a coach that struggles to find a quarterback. It struggles to recruit quarterbacks and struggles to pick one when he played the position. You think it would be one of the first things he's capable of doing as a former quarterback. Mike Gundy was a hell of a player. He knows what it takes to be a hell of a player. You think evaluation would be a little easier for Coach Gundy, but we'll see what he comes up with. As far as the rest of the Big 12, my outlook, honestly, I think you're probably going to see better football than people anticipate. You got a lot of excellent offensive line play, got a lot of returning starters on the offensive line across the board. West Virginia's got a couple of All-American caliber players in their offensive line. You know, Sooners have improved. Texas has improved. Baylor will be better this year. As far as bad football teams, you think maybe Iowa State might be the only one that is in that conversation. I think week in, week out, you're going to come up against a team that has something to bring to the table. Maybe not championship caliber football by any means, but they're going to have something to bring to the table, right? Kansas State is going to be good. You know what they have. I think TCU, as much as they lost, they added this offseason, and they have a championship mindset after an incredible season a year ago. I think this league is going to be impressive. Joey McGuire, Texas Tech, love the feel, the vibe of that football team, where their heads are at. Texas Tech no longer, and as a guy that was on a 3-win team in college in that first year, I get this Texas Tech vibe, right? Where all of a sudden it's like, oh, things are looking up, right? The roster is getting better. We've got better personnel. We've got a coach that believes in us. Joey McGuire reminds me so much of Les Miles in the way that he attacks. And he's lifting those kids up with every single word, making them believe that they can be contenders. Texas Tech is going to be a force to be reckoned with for years to come, as long as Coach McGuire is at the helm of that group. So pretty impressed with them. Yeah, I like the Big 12. I think we're going to represent ourselves pretty well with a good, balanced caliber of football this season. I'm excited to see what stars emerge. You know, there's a bunch of young, enthusiastic talent in this conference this year, both offensively and defensively. To sit back here in week 1 this weekend and kind of take it all in to see who emerges early is always exciting for me. So I'm looking forward to Big 12 football. National games real quick. South Carolina, North Carolina. Super excited to see Spencer Rattler back in action. I think this is a kid that's got a ton of potential. Obviously, he had to do some growing up. I think that's happening there for him in South Carolina. I think this will be his best season. I think he'll show us that he truly is an NFL caliber quarterback And I've never really necessarily loved the kid's attitude. I don't think anybody has, but I think it's improving. Um, the more and more you pay attention to social media, and really the less you see of him, I think is a positive. So hopefully Spencer's head is on right and he leads South Carolina to a big win. And then also very excited about Tennessee and Josh Heupel against Virginia. Obviously, it's an ACC opponent. Tennessee, the better football team, but watching what they did a year ago, big fan of Josh Heupel and the way that he coaches and the way he attacks everything. Also, Tennessee's got one of those brands that you want to see good in college football, right? The pageantry of it all, that 100,000 seat stadium, the lure of Neyland, that feel, that vibe. And for the Oklahoma fans that went there recently, they'll tell you it's something special. So, as a spectator, just a fan of the greatness and the pageantry of the game of college football, the spectacle of college football, I like when Tennessee is good. So hopefully we'll see them find a way to get it done. This is just a quick week one preview for me. I think here in the future, like I said, you'll always probably see a guest with one of these shows. I'm looking forward to an early Monday podcast, hopefully, where I get my opinion out to talk about what happened this weekend. A lot riding for Oklahoma, right? It begins now. The SEC looms. Next season, you're in the biggest show, one of the biggest shows in sports here in the U.S. So it starts game number one. It starts with your first opponent. You really, really set the tone for a season where you could potentially be a championship caliber team. So excited about it for sure. This is In the Trenches. I'm Sam Mays. I'm looking forward to meeting you guys every single week.